I'm going to discuss with you about a simple calculator application using React JavaScript. So far, I just gave you some brief introduction to ReactJS. So what do you mean by React JavaScript? It is nothing but a mix of JavaScript and HTML. So whenever I want to develop any static web pages, they are developed using HTML, that is hypertext markup language, and scripting language. So whenever I want to do some validations, I was discussing with you about different types of events available in JavaScript. So what do you mean by React JavaScript? It is nothing but a mix of JavaScript and HTML. So what are the different types of applications that can be developed using this ReactJS? For example, a calculator application. So this is one important application that can be developed using React JavaScript. And still, what are the other types of applications? For example, a weather application. I want to know the weather conditions, whether it is going to be a rainy day or a sunny day. So all these are the different types of applications that can be developed using this React JavaScript. Clear with this? So let me just, before starting, if you are interested, you can go to InstaMojo and you can register for ReactJS internship program, ReactJS 1. This is the coupon code. Once you register for the internship, you will be getting access to the PPTs, the recorded videos, the project files, how the projects are being developed. You will be gaining more practical knowledge. Once you attend this masterclass for 25 days, you will be receiving a free webinar certificate, and the internship users, they will be receiving an internship certificate as well as a participation certificate. If you are interested, you can go to InstaMojo and you can register for ReactJS internship program, ReactJS 1. This is the coupon code. Once you register for the internship, you will be getting access to the PPTs, the recorded videos, the project files, how the projects are being developed. You will be gaining more practical knowledge. Once you attend this masterclass for 25 days, you will be receiving a free webinar certificate, and the internship users, they will be receiving an internship certificate as well as a participation certificate. Alright. So what we are going to see in this 30 days ReactJS masterclass program. So firstly, I just gave you some introduction to Java. What do you mean by classes and objects? I gave you some introduction to OOPS concepts. And then I started with JavaScript. I gave you a brief overview about JavaScript. So what do you mean by variables, operators, decision-making statements, looping statements? I gave you some introduction to functions. What do you mean by cookies, page redirect, dialog boxes? And then I started with HTML. What do you mean by hypertext markup language? What are all the different types of tags and attributes available in HTML? I was discussing with you about colors, CSS, form tags, input types. So next I started with React JavaScript. So what do you mean by ReactJS? How to create some simple application using ReactJS. I discussed with you about the difference between ReactJS and AngularJS. And finally, I will be discussing how to develop some full stack websites using React JavaScript. So today I am going to discuss with you about a calculator application. So what are the different types of applications? So I can go for a book management system, chat application, touring application. So today I am going to discuss with you about a calculator application. So how to develop a simple calculator using ReactJS. So what makes this technology so very powerful? So what do you mean by React JavaScript? So it is nothing but a mix of JavaScript and HTML. So HTML is nothing but hypertext markup language. So whenever I want to develop any web pages, I can go for this HTML, that is hypertext markup language. So what do you mean by this React JavaScript? So ReactJS, it is nothing but a mix of JavaScript and HTML. So it's a JavaScript library to build some flexible user interfaces. So many impactful projects, so many attractive projects, many type of real world applications can be developed using this React JavaScript. So why a calculator? Still, what are the other types of applications? So you can imagine any type of real world applications. For example, I want to automate the resume building process. A resume builder can be created using this React JavaScript. So today I am just discussing with you about calculator application. What do you mean by a calculator? And what are the other types of applications? Say for example, if I want to create some weather application, I want to fetch some weather related data, whether it is going to be a rainy day or it is going to be a sunny day. So all these are the different types of applications that can be developed using this React JavaScript. So why a calculator? I am going to develop a calculator for some specific set of reasons. The first main reason so why I have to develop a calculator is its simplicity. So it's a simple gadget. So it has misused several of these. So why I have to go for a calculator? Simplicity. So whenever I want to perform any type of calculations, so immediately I can just use this app. So a calculator can be developed using this React JavaScript. So it's a simple gadget and you have seen it has misused several of these. So why a calculator? So still many varieties of calculators, and now we give the chance to create a basic virtual calculator. So it will be able to do all the basic arithmetic operations such as addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. So any type of arithmetic operations can be performed using this calculator. For example, whenever I want to add two numbers, or if I want to do some subtraction operation, multiplication, division. So all these are the different types of mathematical operations or arithmetic operations that can be performed using a calculator. Clear with this? So it will be easy for us to explain and understand the process. So what do you mean by a calculator? So why we need to go for this? So whenever I am going to create any kind of React JavaScript application, so components are the major building blocks. So they are the heart or the core of any kind of ReactJS application. So whenever I am going to develop any kind of ReactJS application, components are the major building blocks. So what we are targeting, it has a lot of future scope. Clear with this? So I am going to discuss with you about a completed application, and it will be able to understand that in spite of being complete, it will offer you to improvise and create an enhanced version. So I am in this application, so in this project I am going to discuss with you about how to create a simple calculator using React JavaScript. So in my future applications, I will be discussing how to develop a scientific calculator, an enhanced version of this calculator. So how to develop a scientific calculator using this. Clear with this? So what do you mean by this calculator and how to develop a calculator? So initially I am just developing a simple calculator, and further in the future process, a scientific calculator can be created. So it has got abundance of interesting points. So why we need to go for this calculator? So what makes this calculator so very powerful? So we need to create one for yourself. So I need to identify and create all the different components, identify and establish a mutual interactive platform. So whenever there is any failures, whenever there is going to be a crash or bugs, so everything should be handled by a calculator. So why we need to go for a calculator? So what are the interesting points? So it has got lot of important features. So why I need to go for a calculator? So what are the different challenges? So whenever I am going to go for this calculator, so what are the different challenges? So it should not take up a lot of space. Whenever I am going to develop any kind of gadgets, electronic gadgets, so I need to look into the pros and cons of developing some calculator. So whenever I am going to develop any calculator, so it should not take up a lot of space. So it should contain all the essential features. It has several buttons to accommodate, and while designing, we'll also have to take care of the readability. So whenever I'm going to develop some buttons, so what are I should have some numerical buttons, And still, what are all the other types of buttons? For example, when I want to perform some addition or subtraction, so I need to take care of the readability and the overall user experience. At the end of the day, this is our first UI project. Clear with this? So what do you mean by this calculator? So why we need to go for this calculator? Clear with this? So what do you mean by this calculator? So why we need to go for this calculator? So what are the different types of buttons I need to create, and then if I want to perform some addition operation or subtraction operation, so still what are the other types of buttons, widgets I want to create? So everything can be developed using this React JavaScript. So I'm going to discuss with you what are the different .js files that are present in my project and how I'm going to develop a calculator using this React.js. So initially I'm just giving you a brief overview. So why a calculator? So as I was telling you, right, so whenever I'm going to develop any kind of React.js application, it is made up of pieces called components. So components are the major building blocks of any kind of React.js application. Whenever I'm going to consider or construct any React.js application, components are the major building blocks. So they are the heart or the core of any kind of React.js application. So UI is being broken down into multiple individual pieces called components. The user interface part. So I'm going to work on them independently and I'm going to merge them all into a parent component. It will be the final UI. So I'm going to split my UI into smaller pieces. Clear with this? So I'm just giving you a brief overview. So whenever we are going to develop any application, so first you should understand. So what are all the articulating points or what are all the motivating points, how a calculator is being designed. So whenever I am going to develop any calculator, so I should have some title. So it is the title at the top of my application. For example, Pantech virtual calculator. So whatever is the title, I need to give the corresponding title here. And output screen. So this is where this will be the final output screen where all the text will be shown. Clear with this? So like the input that the user will type and the answer calculated from the user input. So whenever a user he is going to input something, for example, he want to perform some multiplication, he want to get the final result. Or he want to compute some net pay. For example, in a billing section, in a e-commerce industry, in a billing section, so so several customers they had made some purchase. He wants to calculate the total bill amount. So whenever a user he is going to type and the answer will be calculated from the user input. So again I'm going to break down into smaller pieces. So how the user interface, first you should understand the UI part. So whenever I'm going to develop any application, as I was telling you, right, what makes this React JavaScript so very powerful? So it is nothing but a mix of HTML and JavaScript. So this is what is called as React.js. So what do you mean by this React JavaScript? It is nothing but a mix of HTML and JavaScript. Clear with this? So what do you mean by this React.js? So I will have some title, calculator title. So whenever it is the top of the application, so whatever title I want, so I can give an output screen where all the text will be shown. So whenever a user he is going to type in something, so the answer will be calculated from the user input. And still again I break down the smaller pieces. Again I'm going to break down this into two smaller pieces. For example, a question output and an answer output. So what do you mean by the question output? So this will be the input given by the user. So whenever a user he is going to give some input, question output, so the answer output, this will be the result calculated from the user input. Clear with this? So how a calculator, step by step I'm just illustrating. So using this React JavaScript, so how I'm developing a calculator. So whenever a user he is going to query something, so what do you mean by this question output? So this will be the input given by the user. and based on the input given by the user, so I will be getting the corresponding answer. So this will be the result calculated from the user input. And I'm going to have some more buttons. So as I have seen in the image of the calculator app, so lot of buttons, input numbers from 0 to 9, operators. So I can go for addition operation, subtraction operation, multiplication, or whenever I want to clear the screen, backspace. So all these are the different buttons that are present in my calculator application. Clear with this? So what do you mean by this calculator application? So it contains a lot of buttons for the input numbers from 0 to 9. For example, whenever I should have some numbers inside my calculator, so it contains some numbers from 0 to 9. Operators. What are all the different types of operators? I can go for plus operation, minus operation, subtraction, multiplication, division, and whenever I want to clear the screen, backspace. Discussing. So what are all the different elements? As I was telling you, right? So whenever I'm going to construct or build any kind of ReactJS application, components are the major building blocks. They are the heart or the core of any kind of ReactJS application. So inside my calculator, you can just view here. So whenever I am going to type in some numbers, whenever I want to perform some multiplication or division, so I have some numbers and different types of operators are present in my calculator. So the above elements are the smallest elements we can break our in which we can break our complete calculator app. So I'm going to create components for each of these elements. So what do you mean by components? They are nothing but the heart or the core of any kind of ReactJS application. So firstly, by creating a React app, building individual components. So how I'm going to develop this application? So I'm just giving you a brief overview. So what are the different things that are present in my calculator application? So it contains a calculator title and then it is going to contain some output screen. So whenever I want to view the results of my calculation, whatever I'm developing, so there will be an output screen. So I need a question output. So this will be the input given by the user and I need an answer output. Clear with this? So there will be a question output. So this will be the input given by the user and there will be an answer output. So it will be the result calculated from the user input and I have some buttons. Whenever I am going to create some calculator, so I will have some buttons. Numbers, input numbers, say from 0 to 9, operators. So whenever I want to clear the screen. So let me just discuss with you about the implementation section so that you will understand this better. So far, I just gave you some simple example to this calculator. So next I am going to discuss with you about the implementation section. So how this calculator is being developed. So what are the different things that are present inside this calculator. So as I was telling you, right, so I have created a project called ReactJS calculator main. And all my project configurations. So whenever I am going to develop any kind of ReactJS application, so all my project configurations are present inside my package.json file. So whatever is the name of the project, whatever is the current version, whether it is a private or protected, and what are the different types of dependencies. For example, I am having this React DOM. Clear with this? So React scripts. So whatever is the React scripts and web vitals. And I have this scripts and browser list development. So all these are the different files that are present. And all my .js files are present inside my source folder. For example, ReactJS calculator main. This is the name of my application. And all my .js files. So whenever I'm going to create any calculator or any other type of application, I require some JavaScript files. So all my .js files are present inside my source folder. So whenever I am going to create any kind of ReactJS application, first I need to import the corresponding modules from React. So I am just importing the useState from React. Clear with this? So what do you mean by this useState? So it is a kind of hook. So what do you mean by hook? So whenever I want to add some states to my functions, functional components, so I can go for this React hooks concept. So I am importing this useState from React. And whenever I want to define any user defined function, so I am using the function keyword followed by the name of the function. So I am defining a user defined function called application. And inside this, whenever I want to use any constant, so I am just using this constant calculator and then set calculator. And I am using this useState. So when I was discussing with you about the React component API, I was discussing with you about the different methods that are present in the React component API. So what are the different types of methods that are present in the React component API? So I can go for a setState method, or I can go for a force update method, or I can go for a find download method. So all these are the different methods that are present in a React component API. And whenever I want to define any user defined function, so I am going to use the function keyword followed by the name of the function. So I am defining a function called application. Clear with this? So I am defining some constant. For example, calculator set calc. For example, I am calling this useState and then set result. So whenever I want to set the calculator state, so I am giving the method as set calc and then set result. And what are the different types of operators? So I am just storing this as a operators array. So I am using this const keyword. So I am just storing this as a operators array. So what are the different types of operators? So I can go for division operation, multiplication operation, subtraction, addition. So all these are the different types of operators or operations. So inside my calculator, I am just storing this as an array. It is being separated by comma. So all these are the different types of operators that can be performed. So they are being enclosed within single quotes and they are being separated by comma. And then I am creating a constant called create digits. So constant digits. So I am initializing an empty array and then I am going for a for loop. So for let I equal to 1, I less than or equal to 10 and then I plus plus. So first one is the initialization section. The second one is the condition checking. And the third one is the incrementation section. So I am going for a for loop. So whenever I want to initialize any for loop, so I am using the for keyword and inside this I am just initializing the variable. Let I equal to 1 semicolon, I less than 10. So after initializing the variable, I am checking for some condition. I less than 10, I plus plus. So after having these three sections inside a for loop using digits dot, so I have initialized the digits array, right? So using digits, using dot operator, I am just calling this push function. Whichever inbuilt functions I have to call, so using this array, digits using dot operator, I am just calling this push function. So button, I am going for different types of button. So I am adding some attributes or events. So I can go for on click event. So whenever I am going to click something, so I am calling this update calculator i.toString. Clear with this? So whenever I'm going to click some button, so it is going to call this. I'm going to return the digits constant update calculator. So whatever is the value. Clear? So whenever there are different types of events available in JavaScript. So based on my requirement, I can go for different types of events available in JavaScript. So I can go for an on-click event, or I can go for an on mouse over event, on change event. So all these are the different types of events that are present in JavaScript. So inside this, I'm just having this update calculator, whatever is the value. So operations dot includes of value. So whenever I'm going to press some button, so you can see here, press some key. So it is including some value. So I have just stored an array of operations. What are the different types of operations that can be performed inside a calculator? So I can perform some division operation. So everything is enclosed within single quotes. They are being separated by comma. So I can perform some division operation, or I can perform some multiplication, subtraction, addition. So all these are the different types of operations that can be performed using a calculator. Clear with this? And using this operations dot include. So whenever I'm choosing some value, update calculator, and then calculator equal to, or operations dot includes of value and then includes. So accordingly, I am using this setCalc function. So finally, if I want to delete some value, so I'm defining a constant called delete last. So whenever some value, I'm just slicing like this, and the result and the value will be deleted. So I'm going for this update calculator. So whenever I'm going to call this update calculator, so based on different types of operations, so whatever is the result, so the result will be displayed in my web browser. So I can go for this update calculator. I can go for different types of operations. I can go for a division operation. I can go for a multiplication, subtraction, and then addition. And finally, I'm going for this on-click event. So what are the different types of events available in JavaScript? I can go for an on-click event, or I can go for a on mouse over event, on change event. So all these are the different types of events available in JavaScript. So whenever you go for this HTML, that is hypertext markup language, everything is based on tags and attributes. So inside my button, so I'm having this on click event. So whenever I'm going to click this delete last, so all my digits will be deleted. And create digits. So whenever I want to create any digits, you can just see here, I'm calling this update calc, and finally I'm calling this calculate function. Clear with this? So whatever, when I'm going to call this update calculation, so based on this, the calculations will be performed, and finally the results will be displayed. So this is a simple calculator application that can be developed using this React JavaScript. So all my important project functions are written inside my app.js, and I have this index.css file. So what do you mean by this cascaded style sheet? So whenever I want to add any kind of styling elements, I can go for this cascaded style sheet. So I have this root tag. So inside this, I'm going for this primary. So what are the different types of colors? I'm having this primary color, secondary color, dark, light. So I have this margin. So whatever is the padding, box sizing, font family. So inside this application, so I'm having this display minimum height. And inside my calculator, so all my stylings are included inside my index.css file. So calculator, so whatever is the width of the calculator, so I have different properties to specify. So whatever is the width of my calculator, I'm just mentioning the width as 100%. And maximum width, I can give up to 400 pixels. And background color, so whatever is the background color I'm giving here, and border radius, I'm giving up to 16 pixels. And display. So what are all the different displays and operators, buttons? So I am having appearance, outline, whatever is the border color, padding, font size. So when I am going to display any button, so whatever is the font size, it can contain up to 20 pixels. And transition, for example, 0.4 seconds. And I have this index.js file. So inside my index.js file, so whenever I'm going to create any kind of ReactJS application, I need to import the corresponding modules from React. So I'm importing React from React, and then I'm importing this React DOM from React DOM. Clear with this? So what are all the different things I need? So I'm just importing this React DOM from React DOM. And then I'm importing this index.css file. So what are all the .css files? I'm just importing this index.css file. And then I'm importing this app from app. And whenever I want to render something in my web browser, using this React DOM, using dot operator, I'm just calling this render function. So whichever inbuilt functions I have to call, so using this dot operator, so using React DOM, using dot operator, I'm just calling this render function. And React dot strict mode, so I'm just having this get element by ID root. So whenever I want to start this application, so once I'm going to install npm space install. So whenever I want to install something, so I'm giving the command as npm space install. Once all my React scripts are installed, so I have to run this application using npm space start. So it is going to take some time. So after giving this, I'm just giving the command as npm space start. Clear with this? So a calculator app has been displayed in my web browser. So whenever I want to perform multiplication or division, so whatever operations I want to perform, so I can just perform any type of operations here. Clear with this? So with this, if you have any doubts, you can just ask me. If you are interested, you can go to InstaMojo and you can register for ReactJS internship program, ReactJS 1. This is the coupon code. You will be getting access to the PPTs, the recorded videos, the project files, how the projects are being developed. You will be gaining more practical knowledge. Once you attend this masterclass for 25 days, you will be receiving a free webinar certificate. And the internship users, they will be receiving an internship certificate as well as a participation certificate. If you are interested, you can go to InstaMojo and you can register for ReactJS internship program, ReactJS 1. This is the coupon code. Once you register for the internship, you will be getting access to the PPTs, the recorded videos, the project files, how the projects are being developed. You will be gaining more practical knowledge. Once you attend this masterclass for 25 days, you will be receiving a free webinar certificate. And the internship users, they will be receiving the internship certificate as well as a participation certificate. So what I'm going to discuss in this 30 days ReactJS masterclass program. So firstly, I gave you some introduction to Java and then I started with JavaScript. I gave you some brief overview. What do you mean by operators, looping statements, dialog boxes? And then I started with HTML. What do you mean by hypertext markup language? What are all the different types of tags and attributes available in HTML? And I gave you some introduction to React JavaScript. So what are all the important features of ReactJS? Component APIs, lifecycle, forms. So finally, I will be discussing how to develop some full stack websites using ReactJS. So I hope I am clear with my topics. Remaining things, I will just continue in my next videos. Thank you all.